Hi there folks, my name is NovaWing24 and welcome to another little review of an FSX product. So today we're going to be having a look at one of the mission packs that's available and recently released. We're going to be having a look at the Pushing the Envelope mission pack. So first off I'm going to say thank you very much to the wonderful guys over at Dovetail Games for providing the review copy of this little mission pack today. We're going to jump in, we're going to give it a go and we're going to see what happens. So first off, to find your mission pack once you've installed it, of course, go into your missions and to make it easier for yourself you can go from the category here, drop down to the test pilot Pushing the Envelope pack. So here we go. So this pack includes 5 little missions for you. So it gives you a ski jump one where you get to try some skiing in Alaska using the default Mall Orion using skis. Then you've got the VMU or a tail scrape test where you use a Boeing 747, find its minimum takeoff speed and just gently scraping its tail along the runway. You've got a high altitude one where you go very high altitude with the default FA-18 and do some high altitude handling in it. You've got African Aid where you do an airworthiness test on a DC-3, a beautiful default high Dakota, and bring it back to life, and then do a demonstration aid delivery drop. And then you've got a crosswind limitations one, where you take a 737 and with a 40-knot crosswind and see whether or not you can do that one. This one is expert for a reason, by the way. It's got the whole you got to do the crosswind takeoff. You then have to do a single engine failure on final approach, single engine go around, and then a single engine landing, all with a 40-knot crosswind. Fun times, fun times. Alright, so we're going to get started today. We are going to show off the African Aid one today. So we're going to go for this one. We're going to go for... I was going to do this one, but this one is really, really hard. Really hard. If I ever get it finished, I will show you, I promise. And then we've got the African Aid. But today we're going to do the African Aid one. So we're going to explore some of the coast of Africa, and we'll go with this one. Alright, so once you've selected the mission you want to go to briefing, of course. And here you get a little bit of a summary of what the kind of things you're going to do. One of the cool things about this add-on is it does sort of give you the briefings based on being an actual test pilot for hire. So you actually go through, you do various different tests, and you've got a fairly tight window as well, especially on the 737 one, where you've actually got to stick within very, very specific testing parameters to actually be able to do it as well. So there you go. Alright, so this gives you the basic ideas of this one. So, goes over the things to adjust for, things to look for, things to remember for your flight. And then once you're ready to go, click on Fly. So let's do that now.
This time we're in Cocoa Beach in Gabon. It's on the west coast of Africa. Today you're flying this battered old DC-3. It was left abandoned by the military and then rediscovered a few years ago and brought back to flying condition. It's been restored with the idea of making humanitarian aid drops, and you're here to assess the airplane is airworthy and capable of doing these drops. The airplane's empty right now. The first thing we need to do is to perform a flight test to certify the airworthiness of the airplane, and then we'll come back and land. You'll need to make a single engine landing the first time, and we'll collect some cargo. And we'll then head off to the drop zone, make a cargo drop and return and land. So to begin, press Ctrl E to start the engines, then release the parking brake and taxi forwards, and we'll perform our before takeoff checks.
Alrighty, let's get started with this mission. So first off, let's start these engines up. Right, okay. So first issue, when you're in that cinematic mode, it doesn't respond to throttles. It needs to use the keyboards, which is a bit annoying, but anyway.
to a stop here. Okay, it's time to perform an engine run-up. Set the parking brake.
Brake set.
Okay, now run the engines up to 40 inches of manifold pressure. You should get about 2,200 RPM.
Watch our manifold dials. That looks about right.
Okay, the engines are good. Bring the power back, but not all the way to idle. As what happens is the oil pressure drops too low and you may start to foul the spark plugs. Keep at least 1,200 RPM.
Alright, let's bring the manifolds back a little bit then. I think about 20 inches of manifold should be about right. Maybe a bit less. There we go.
Next, we need to check the flight controls. Move the stick from side to side to check the ailerons.
Right, this is going to be a problem because my controls aren't calibrated through FSX. They're calibrated through FSUIPC. This is going to be an issue. Awkward. There we go.
Now check the elevator.
Just waving to everybody.
And finally, check the rudder.
Free and clear. Okay, so this thing doesn't like it when you have stuff calibrated through FSUIPC. That's not good.
Okay, we're ready to go flying. Set the flaps to the 1/4 position.
Okay, 1/4 flaps.
Oh, we need to be careful today. There seems to be thunderstorms and storm clouds in the area.
Ah, that's alright. What can possibly go wrong on a test flight?
And the flaps are set, so taxi over to the runway and line up. Okay, line up on the runway and come to a stop.
Alright.
For this takeoff, rotate at 60 knots. You want to retract the gear after liftoff, and then aim for 70 knots in the climb out. Retract the flaps at 500 feet.
Sounds about right. Altimeter checked.
Okay, so if you're ready, check everything that's set how you want it. Increase the power to the middle of the yellow band on the manifold pressure.
There we go. And rolling. Now we don't want to overcook the engines. Tails off the
Rotate.
ground.
Positive climb. Gear up.
Gear up.
Good, so climb at 70 knots straight ahead. It looks like the VSI is broken, but it's okay, we don't need it for the flight. I'll make a note for it.
Pass through 500 feet, let's bring the flaps up.
Okay, and there's 500 feet, so bring the flaps up to 0. Okay, carry on straight ahead over the water and level off 1,500 feet.
Let's bring the pitch back
Okay,
down
and
a
level
little bit.
off 1,500 feet. In this flight test, you're going to check general handling, performance, stall characteristics, and a bit of stability.
Okay.
The first test is handling. Trim the aeroplane out as precisely as you can.
Down a bit, down a touch.
Okay, so now you've got it trimmed out, let go of the controls and see what the aeroplane does. We're hoping it's just going to carry on straight ahead.
Hands off.
Well, it's kind of hard to tell in bumpy conditions like this, but the airplane seems to be stable enough. You've got the controls again. So hold on to 1,500 feet and about 120 knots.
Okay, let's bring the throttle back. Let's drop that altitude a
Okay,
little
make
bit.
a turn to the left and head west.
Should lose some of that altitude in the turn.
Once we roll out on west, we'll test the stall behaviour in the clean configuration. Okay, roll out on west and bring the power all the way back to idle.
Okay, let's bring it back.
With the power idle, let the aeroplane decelerate all the way to the stall. Recover once it happens.
Yeah, I know it's only a simulation, but there's always something very unnerving about deliberately putting an aircraft into a stall. It's just something ever so slightly unnerving about it. Now we're doing this clean, so none of the gear or flaps or anything like that are down. I feel the nose starting to drop. Middle nose up to help bleed off that airspeed.
Recover.
And there she goes. Alright. Responsive back to the airfield. Let's push the throttles forward.
Good, so that's the stall. Return to 1,500 feet. It looked to me like the stall was at 60 knots, and the behaviour seemed to be okay.
Still a little bit freaky, but yes, I'll concur. Okay. So put that part of the aircraft through its paces.
The next task is to turn back to the airfield and make a single engine landing.
Alright, so we climb back up to 1,500.
So turn back towards the airfield. I'll fail engine number 1. You need to make an approach and landing on one engine to complete this part of the test. be ready for the yaw. Here goes engine number 1.
Yep, there it goes. Alright. Bring the prop back to feather.
For the approach, aim for 75 knots and use flaps full. We're going to land on the same runway, but in the opposite direction.
Alright. Alright, 5 miles to cover, we'll be fine. Runway over there. Okay. I think we haven't even got to the fun part of dropping cargo yet. I think I'm supposed to turn towards the dead engine, so that sort of goes against a bit of the grain here, but anyway. Alright. Alright, 1 notch flaps. Alright. Okay, alright, I think we've, yeah, we should have this. We should have this part of the test. It should be fine. Get the gear down. Trim up a little. Yeah, having without the VSI is a little annoying, but you know, it's okay. We'll get there. Alright, okay. Lined up.
There's 1,000 feet. Make the approach with flaps full and don't forget the gear.
Flaps 3/4. Let's roll back the remaining engine. Gears down and locked.
After we touch down, roll to the end of the runway and then we'll collect the cargo for the payload test.
Let me focus on getting this thing on the ground first. Come on. In. Brakes on, tail down. There we go. And stop before the end of the runway.
Nice, now roll to the end and park by the hangar. Taxiing in on a single engine can be quite tricky, especially on grass. But remember you can use differential braking to help you.
Alright, let's bring these flaps up, clean up the aircraft a little bit. dead engine there. Yeah, she's definitely a bit slower when taxiing when it's just one engine. With one hell of a push to the left. Alrighty. Get this thing parked on the dime, shall we?
Okay, so stop here and set the flaps to the takeoff setting. We're going to use 1/2 this time.
2 notch flaps.
So next we make a second test flight, this time to authorise the aeroplane for large payload drops, which is actually going to be its main function with the charity. Okay, so while the ground crew are loading the cargo, we'll talk about the next flight. Leave engine 1 shut down for now. So for this flight we're going to have a heavy cargo load right at the back of the aeroplane. I'm going to make a demonstration aid drop. The drop zone is around 8 miles to the east of here. I can take you roughly there, but we'll have to find its exact location. Fly overhead the drop zone and drop the payload as close to the marked area as you can. Having an aft centre of gravity has a few negative effects. You'll have reduced stability, an increased stall speed, and reduced effectivity of the controls. You should set some nose down trim to counteract the payload. Okay, the loading's finished. Start up engine 1 again by pressing Ctrl E, and when you're ready, taxi to the runway. Remember, it'll take a lot of power to get rolling.
Alright. Engine's back running again. Yep, nice. Cool. Alright, let's taxi out onto the runway again.
So with a high weight like this takeoff will need a lot of power. But be careful not to overboost the engines, as the last thing we need is an engine failure. Line up on the runway and come to a stop. We'll be using 60 knots for rotate. Check you've got flaps set to 50% lift off, and then aim for 70 power to the middle of the yellow once again and take the flaps at 500 feet.
Oh, it's odd. The trigger's obviously overlaid together a little bit. Probably taxied too fast. Oh well. Let's get underway. Upper end of the yellow band. And brakes off. Push the nose forward, try and get that airspeed up a bit faster.
Rotate. Positive climb, gear up.
Gear up. Positive right.
Feet. Flaps up.
Flaps coming up. Alright. So far so good.
Okay, now make a turn to the right and head east. Climb to 1,500, but stay out of the clouds. We're finding our way visually.
Okay, roll it out to 090.
So we're going to find our way to the drop zone, fly overhead, and then turn back around and make a pass for the drop, aiming for 600 feet and 90 knots. The air's a little rough today, but it shouldn't stop us making a drop.
Okay, got some crosswind coming through, it looks like. Alright. Looking magnificent around this part of the world. Yeah, that whole thing where it wasn't responding to the commands is a bit annoying.
The drop zone is. It should be in a clearing further to the east of here. It'll be on the side of the forest and to the south side of the water. Keep heading that way.
Alright, make sure we stay below the clouds.
So we're starting to get closer now. Bring the speed back so we get a better chance of finding it.
Okay, let's throttle back. We'll need to make sure that we can slow down for the drop. Okay. Keep an eye out for that smoke beacon.
Okay, you see that clearing up ahead? Descend down there and slow down so we can get a better look. It should be around there. It should be at the north end of this clearing, quite close to the tree line.
Nope. Still looking. Oh, what do we got over there? That be something? Nope, maybe not. Maybe, maybe not. Let's have a look. Oh, I think that's them. Yeah, it looks like our drop zone. Go for another pass.
I've got it, there it is. Fly overhead and then make a right turn all the way round and line up with drop zone. Okay, we're overhead. Start the right turn now and come back around and make the drop.
Okay, that's a little annoying.
Okay, we're going to be targeting 600 feet and 90 knots for the drop.
Alright, 600 feet, check. A little bit fast, that's right, we'll bleed speed in the turn. Okay.
Watch out for a big trim change when the payload goes. Okay, everything's ready in the back. Fly directly overhead the drop zone and we'll release the cargo. You need to be accurate. Remember, this is a flight test.
Okay, 600 feet.
Three, two, one, now. Load moving.
That didn't sound good.
Pull up. I think some of it hit the tail.
Oh, very sluggish.
Ah, yes, some of the load hit the tail. There's a problem with the elevator and the rudder by the looks of it. Best get back to base.
That's the plan. Alright. So we're going to max out at about 100 knots. Okay.
Wow, that's a bit of a close one.
Yep. We're not home yet, though. Okay. Very sluggish on the rudder. Very sluggish on the rudder, particularly left rudder. Okay, what we got? Trim
Right, so we've got a problem
now.
with the elevator and the rudder. They're not totally destroyed, they're just less effective. This is going to be a tricky landing. You're going to have to use the trim and the flaps carefully. Try the controls on the way back to base and see how it handles. Just make sure you can flare for landing.
Yeah, down's the problem. Up's not too bad, just going to keep my airspeed up. Might be coming in hot and high, I think, on this approach. Speed is life, altitude is just life insurance, I think. That's what this is going to be a case of. Still running full flaps at the moment. Let's bring those back up. See if that changes the performance at all. Got more speed out of her. Okay. I think we've got full nose up trim. Alright, 3 miles out. Let's hopefully we'll get her back in one piece. Well, as many pieces are still attached to the aircraft anyway. Alright, start throttling back. I have a funny feeling as soon as the gear goes down, the flights go down, as soon as the gear goes down, she's going to drop like a rock. Okay. Passing through 1,000. First notch flaps. Okay, let's I want to raise that a bit. Yep, so a positive trim. Okay. Gear traveling. This one's gonna be close. Okay. Yep. Gear did lock. Oh! Ow! Oh. Alright. Whee! Okay. Well, we're on the ground. Safe. Alright, I got back to base. Hope you're not expecting me to go out and do that drop again. Alright. Lock on. Well, I've landed back at base, but it hasn't recognized me doing this. Okay, somewhat annoying. It takes it back on the runway, see if that will then recognise that I've done this. Okay. Alrighty. Alright. I am... Alrighty. I'm gonna give my thoughts here now. Okay. So, I'm going to give a two-part review summary for this one. So, first part review summary. First part is, okay, if you have a pretty much virgin install of FSX Steam Edition and you don't have any sort of, add-ons like your Orbix Terrain or Easy.Camera or FSU IPC or use the payware version of FSU IPC or use sort of split throttles and stuff like that, then this add-on will be not too bad for you. This one will give you plenty of challenges to sort of sharpen up your flying skills and get you some practice and do things that you wouldn't normally think about doing. Now, for everybody else who falls in the category like I do, where you use Orbix terrain, so FTX Global, the Orbix regions, stuff like that, where you're using the the payware version of FSU IPC to actually program, or a third-party program to actually link FSX or SimConnect commands to your flight controls, then this, just avoid it. Stay well clear of it. It's a real shame, because the fact that the missions in here are quite challenging. They will sort of push you and do things that you wouldn't normally think about doing. But unfortunately, the mission completion system and the way it's been set up for default and default controls, and it's just buggy. It's really buggy, and it's a real shame. I'm only, and with my recommendations, for say, for people to think about who've got the version install of FSX Steam Edition, then what, even you guys just beware, because the way the missions completion thing works, it's a very narrow window that you have to complete to do things to actually make it work. So I can't. Yeah, look, I'm going to say, for those who have the third-party add-ons, do not get this. As much as it would be fun to have a lot of these really cool add-ons, do not get it, because you will not enjoy it. It will go horribly wrong for you. Hilarious thing, trying to do one of the first ones, which is a ski jump takeoff with an Orion Maul. With a Maul Orion, is just hilarious, because you end up bouncing all over the side of a mountain somewhere, because the terrain mesh is just all over the place. And this one, as you can see, it just doesn't pick up the mission waypoints very well, and you do the task and it doesn't recognize that you've done the task. And you know what? That's just really annoying, and that's a real shame. So yeah, as I said, I can't honestly recommend this add-on for your FSX Steam Edition collection. It's the idea behind it is great. Couple of little things as well, like for example, with the one where you do the crosswind test, he fails engine 2. Now my thing is I've always been taught with all my flight aviation experience is that when you lose an engine, you turn towards the dead engine, you don't turn away from it. And in two scenarios where you have dead engines, the 737 scenario and this scenario, DC-3, he makes you turn toward the away from the dead engine, and it's like, yeah, no, that's not what you do. You always have the good engine on the outside. So yeah, not cool. Anyway, so look, this mission pack had a lot of potential. I've given it a go. more than just what you've seen here. I've tried all of the missions that are here, and I'm sorry, but it's just consistent now. They are buggy. They do not work with anything with my setup, and which is a fairly common setup with all the Orbix scenery and decent add-ons and FSU IPC and stuff like that. So it's a real shame, but unfortunately that's the way it is. So I do not recommend that you get it. If you do choose to get it, it is available from the Steam store. Just look for FSX and then look for the DLC. You look for the Pushing the Envelope mission pack. So there you go. Alright folks, well thank you very much for watching my little review and attempt to do some missions in this mission pack. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying these and want to see more. And of course, as always, you can catch up with me and all the things I'm up to between videos by finding me on Facebook and on Twitter. Just search NovaWing24. Alright folks, thanks very much for watching. Take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.